All right. Okay. So, welcome back to the Inebri-art podcast. We are finally back at the craft beer cellar. It has been refurbished and after their flood issues. So we are in their basement where we love to record. And with me tonight is Mark Small, blues guitar player extraordinaire.
Thank you.
And so welcome, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
So you have won several awards. You won a acoustic blues album of the year.
Yep.
That
was Blues Blast magazine.
Yep.
And they have subscriptions, believe it or not, in the USA and 90-plus countries.
Wow. So, do you know of, your albums getting out to those other countries? Or?
Yeah, worldwide.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The last, I just had a new one come out, but the two before that got, I would get emails from people in Sri Lanka.
Oh, that's so cool. That's
wild.
Really exciting.
Yeah.
So, you're the first interview that I feel like I've really done some investigation into.
Good.
So tell me at what point in your childhood you chose guitar playing over squirrel hunting.
Squirrel hunting.
on Pickford Street, I believe.
Nope, that's not
No?
me. No.
No,
Pinette Street?
Pinette Street, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you did some research, man.
Yeah.
You did some research. Well, actually, if going back that far, I moved here when I was a teenager.
From Alaska, right?
From Alaska, yeah. Hey, you're good. Like the CIA here.
Yeah, so it's a funny little story. I have my regular job, and I was at work, and my boss is always like, you do so much, and every night she's like, oh, what are you off to do tonight? And last night she's like, oh, you're recording podcasts? I'm like, oh, tomorrow I'm recording with Mark Small, and I hear from behind me, the guitar player? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I grew up with him.
Who was it?
John Brenier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So he's like, ask him about hunting squirrels and ask him this.
Oh, that's way back.
Yeah.
And it's you got to make the distinction, Mark T. Small.
Mark T. Small,
for the website and all of that.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, I moved here from Alaska when I was about 13 years old, I guess. And I started playing... actually, believe it or not, when I was 12 or 13 years old, I was listening to guys like Junior Wells and Charlie Musselwhite, blues harmonica players, and was playing a little bit of harmonica. And I just really loved that music. But at the same time, I loved bluegrass.
Yeah.
So my style is kind of an amalgamation of that kind of music, I love the hot, fancy guitar playing and old-time music and bluegrass music, the fiddle tunes on guitar like Doc Watson and Norman Blake. And I also love the blues stuff. I played electric guitar in a lot of different bands back when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
But then reverted back to the good old acoustic guitar.
So when you played electric guitar, was it more of a rock, or was it still blues?
Sometimes I would play in rock bands. I would freelance, which was always an adventure,
Yeah.
Somebody guitar player be sick, and I'd get a call, can you fill in? And just, where do you want me to stand?
Right, yeah, sure, yeah.
And it was great. I had a blues band or different versions of a particular blues band for years, but my real love is acoustic music. I mean, it's I feel so strongly about it. It's crazy. What was
your influence to go to that? What was the musician that really struck home that made you...
Acoustically?
Yeah, acoustically.
I think the guy that stuck with me the longest is a fellow by the name of Norman Blake.
Norman Blake?
He's he and Doc Watson are the two guys that took fiddle tunes and put them on the guitar. For instance, you can picture how a fiddler would play a particular tune, right? And you can translate that to the guitar, like... and then embellishments.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And what's great about it is there's very few dilettantes playing that kind of music. Unless you can play that music, there's no faking it. Where electric guitar, you can take somebody who didn't really know how to play and stick them in. You can
run it through a lot of equipment.
But acoustic, with an acoustic guitar, these bluegrass guys, guys like, not only, Norman Blake and Doc Watson, who has passed, but even the, local guys that play that kind of music, you really have to study the music to play it, which is a wonderful thing. If you're going to play it and go out and publicize it, you should know a little bit about it, in my opinion.
And we talked a few weeks ago, and you're really into the history
I
behind
am.
it, and I believe we're talking about early colonial settlers.
And I go all the way from the 1600s.
Yeah.
Basically, the music that the Europeans brought here was melodic.
Yeah.
And was listening music.
Is it more kind of like a chamber music?
Yeah, that type of stuff. And then in the 1600s, I believe 1.5 million Africans were brought here. In the 1700s, 250,000 Scots. In the 1800s, 2.5 million Irish. Mm-hmm. And those three groups of people changed that listening music into dance music. And the fiddle played a big part in it, I just think it's important to know what you're playing.
Yeah. And I'm a fan of Irish music, and Irish and country music are very similar.
It all comes from the same tree. It really, really does. And the fiddle, the fiddle played a huge role in all of that.
Is there a difference between a fiddle and a violin?
There is, from a playing standpoint. There is,
but
it's the same instrument. There are different ways to. A good fiddler is someone who maybe played Sally Gooden and other stuff, but could lay some classical on you, whereas someone classical violinist would shudder at being called a fiddler.
So you've played with a ton of people.
I've been fortunate.
So did you go on tour with them, or was it just when they came locally? Or
I've been fortunate that I've done a lot of openers for a lot of my heroes and big name guys. Johnny Winter was always one of my favorites. He has since died, but opened for him 3 times.
Oh, nice.
John Mayall, James Cotton, Robert Cray. I had a gig one time opening for Mick Taylor of the Rolling Stones, and he almost dropped dead before the show, and they canceled the show.
Geez.
So he had double pneumonia.
Oh,
but
wow.
Almost with him.
Have you ever, because I hear some people say, never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
But, have you ever had a bad experience, or have they all been really good people? Or?
Well, some of them are a little big for their britches.
Mm-hmm.
Very few, I won't tell you the guy's name, but I had one. I was playing up in New Hampshire. It's about a 350-seat theater, and he's a pretty big name.
Yeah.
But
you don't have to tell us his name, but what date was it?
Well, he was a little bit full of himself. Didn't want me in the theater during his sound check. It was a closed sound check.
Wow. Yeah.
And I came close to saying, "Hey, buddy, I'm very close to being able to do this by myself in this size room, So get off your high horse." But that's kind of rare. The guys that I've met have been, some of them have been just tremendous and encouraging and really just a pleasure. Johnny Winter, who was just about blind before he died and very frail and albino and, worried about getting sick. His manager said, you want to come on the bus and talk to Johnny? And I was like, I don't want to bother him.
Yeah.
No, come on out,
Oh, that's cool.
And he had been my hero on the electric guitar for years. So
how long ago was that?
That was about 10, 15 years ago, I guess.
Oh, so it was fairly recent.
Yeah. I think the last time I opened for him was maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Just before he died. He died in Switzerland a couple years ago.
Was he on tour?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
But there, it's. I think people are generally good, and musicians that have gone through the school of hard knocks and realize, that have taken the time to learn to play an instrument. When they see another guy that knows how to play a little bit, and even though he's not famous, it's like, hey, part of the same club.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
It's been a good experience.
I often ask our guests what kind of advice they'd give to kids and people coming up, And me and my boss were talking the other day because she's very business orientated and into sports and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do I do if my kid's into something creative? She's like, do I encourage it and I we were talking about kind of like those hard knocks, and I'm like, it's almost like if your kid has a backup plan, then that's a bad like you almost have to have this kind of big-headed, suffer through the tough times to.
I was fortunate that my family, my parents were like, you got to have a backup plan. So I have a master's degree in business.
Oh, really?
And I was a very successful businessman, and I retired, and now I do this full time. Oh, okay. And it's wonderful because if I don't want to do something, or if somebody doesn't treat me right, I say, see you later, Charlie.
Oh, that's convenient. Yeah.
So it makes for a wonderful life. Yeah. I mean, from a business standpoint, it was very stressful being a business guy. Right, I worked for big medical companies for about 15 years. It was just very stressful. I was on a plane most of the time, in a hotel all the time, but it really, there's a wonderful payoff to be able to really work at your craft and not have the stress of all this other stuff.
So what would be like the one bit of advice you'd give to someone kind of starting off?
I think no matter what you do, you need to get a good education.
Yeah.
And, while I'm kind of an amateur historian, I think that stuff's great, but you need to get an education in something that has utility. You need to know something about money and banking. You need to be educated so you can make your way through the world. And if you want to be an artist, that's great.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of credence in being a smart, educated artist.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I know plenty of artists that are phenomenal at what they do, but not so great business-wise. And
I understand that left brain, right brain, some people it's very difficult to math or whatever, pick the subject, Right. But, if you apply yourself, you can get through it. So I think, to be in your 20s and say, yeah, I'm okay sleeping in my car for the rest of my life and I might not make it, is pretty bold.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea to... when I was a business guy, everywhere I went, I had a guitar with me. I flew with a guitar all the time. I practice, knowing that I would do this full time. I retired in 2006. So it's been great.
Yeah. And I feel like it's you have to find your own path and just be happy with what you're doing. If you're happy couch surfing and living in a car and playing your music, then that's what makes you happy.
The problem is, your tastes change.
Oh, absolutely. I had a friend that was touring around the country with a Fish cover band, a kid I grew up with. And after, the shine wore off on that, he's like, I was living in a garage. He's like,
oh, yeah.
After a while, it just got to be too much. And he kind of settled down. But you still have that experience.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is good education, no matter how talented someone thinks they are or what, good education is only going to help.
Yeah.
So that's my advice.
Well, that's good, because my son listens to this, so.
Yeah, hey.
Do your homework, Liam.
Yeah, I'm telling you. It makes it easier, I mean, if you really think you can make it in the arts... it's going to benefit you to have some education and understand how the world works. No question about it.
Yeah. So when you were playing with these many people, Johnny Winter and James Montgomery, and what was the high point there? Like, what was your favorite venue to play? Was it the biggest crowd, or was it just the best particular room? Or
for me, it's a little bit different. I love to play the guitar so much. I mean, I can't quantify it. I love to play that much. I get up in the morning and it's like a form of meditation for me to practice and to play, and that's what I do. So when I do a big show, like I'm playing at the Narrow Center for the Arts of the Blues Festival Saturday night, it'll be, big room and, all fancy Dan, all of that, as much I love the Narrows. If you haven't been to the Narrows, you need to go.
And where is
there.
this?
In Fall River.
Okay.
It's on the third floor of a mill, big 350-seat venue.
Wow.
State-of-the-art PA system, the whole bit. But, fancy, prestigious gig.
Yeah.
Leon Russell has played there. I opened for Johnny Winter there.
Big names.
Big names, It's a privilege to play there, and it's especially a privilege to open for some of these big names there. But what lights my fire is playing the guitar, whether it's 5 people or 500 people or 5,000 people. Like I'm playing across the street at New World Tavern tonight. I will enjoy that just as much. As a matter of fact, it's a little different because tonight I'll play for 3 hours, so it's like going to the gym,
Right, yeah.
Get my chops all going. When I do the Narrows on Saturday, I'll play. I think I'm scheduled for an hour and 5-minute set. So it's like boom, it's done.
It's like a sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just goes by so fast. So I'm not. I'm grateful for those kinds of things. I played in Europe last year. It was awesome.
Oh, nice.
But it is playing the guitar that lights me up.
So it just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's cool. So you play every Thursday at the New World Tavern,
yes,
right?
Yes.
It's. I was talking with Matt, one of the bartenders over there, and because we're about 3.5 years there. Back in September, we celebrated our 3rd anniversary of our event over there.
Cool.
We have a life drawing on the first Monday of every month.
Nice.
And we're talking with Matt, and he's like, the only people who have been here longer than you is yourself.
Yeah.
And I think trivia.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with those two. So,
well, I'll tell you I walked by the place. I live in about an hour from here, but I walked by the place when they had just opened and went in, and Carl was there and spoke to him, and it's been a great relationship. They're good people.
Oh, they're great people. We actually just recorded an episode of this with Carl not too long ago.
That's great.
So that'll be like a week or two ahead of yours. And he's been great to us, and everyone over there's been great.
Those people, I think it's a big reason why they're so successful over there, is they genuinely care about people. They're not just trying to get people in the door and make a bunch of money. And I mean, they got to make a living, but they treat everyone with respect. They care about every single person that walks in that door, whether you work there or you're a customer.
They're excellent.
First class.
So, can you give us a little preview on your guitar? What you're going to be doing tonight?
I'm a little out of tune because of this weather, and rather than tune up on your podcast here, I'll just play something where I can kind of bend things into tune. I play American roots music, everything from like the fiddle tune that I did to Scott Joplin piano rags, finger picking rags, to acoustic blues like Delta blues from the Mississippi Delta was a precursor to the electric stuff, and it sounded kind of like. That kind of stuff. But a little bit of Chicago would be, to give that sound. It's typically played on the electric, but to sound like a band, you do the foot stomp and stuff, and it would be more like this. Like a broke down engine, baby. Ain't got no driving wheel. Jumping down and lonesome. Oh, baby, that's the way a man like me can feel. of different
awesome.
stuff. Excuse me for being a little out of tune.
Oh,
but
no worries.
Gives you an idea of and boogie woogie stuff, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, nice. So you have a couple guitars with you. Are you like a kind of guy who has like 50 guitars, or you have just a couple that you always play?
You know, it's something you got to be careful of not to let it get out of hand.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think I have 13 right now, but I know guys with like 70.
Right.
You know, the problem is, especially acoustics, you really have to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep them between 68 and 72 degrees temperature and between 45 and 55 humidity. There's probably 1 week a year where you don't have to do anything. You know?
Yeah,
the rest of the time is you got dehumidifiers,
yeah.
you know. And I'm kind of, being an old Yankee, I guess, I only like having stuff that I play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the dozen or so that I have, I play every one of them.
Right.
You know, whether it's, you know, I have a few of them for gigs. I have my personal guitar for at home. I have my beside the bed guitar, and then I play a little banjo and a little mandolin. And,
oh, nice.
You know,
nice.
But you really, there's a danger of getting so many of them that you can't take care of, because they're like living, breathing things. You know, they need medical attention occasionally.
Yeah.
You know.
So, what is like the number one rule that you have to? Is it the temperature or
temperature and humidity?
Yeah, those are like the two.
The story I always tell when people ask me about taking care of their guitars is, I have a door in my house that has inset panels in it, right? Mm-hmm. It's painted white. And in the summertime, you look at this white door. In the wintertime, when the heat goes on, those panels, you can see brown around the edges of the panels where the wood shrinks past the paint, you know, and exposes this wood. Well, that's like, that panel's a quarter of an inch thick.
Right.
This guitar, with these strings on it, has got about 150 pounds of pressure pulling on a top that's about an eighth of an inch thick, you know, and pretty wide.
Yeah.
So, you know, that kind of tells the story that, man, if you just leave it sitting on the couch in the wintertime,
you're gonna have a rocking horse instead of a guitar.
Yeah. and the stuff that I play, especially the ragtime and things like that, it's important to me that the guitar is set up perfectly, because I'm using the whole fingerboard. You know, that can change if you don't take care of it. You know, the strings rise up. What happens is the belly of the guitar pulls up and makes the action higher, or the, you know, of course, deformities.
I used to have a guitar when I was a kid, and I think the strings were like a half an inch
yeah,
off the neck. Yeah,
exactly. You know, you can't stick it in an attic.
Yeah.
You know, and a good guitar is. You know, it's kind of like a piece of art. So you want to treat it as such and take good care of it.
What's your favorite brand of guitar to play?
I only play Martins for acoustic. Yeah. They are. They start. Actually, it says on the headstock established 1833, but C.F. Martin made them before 1833 for other companies, and they're works of art. They're absolutely, for me.
Yeah,
they are the best, and I've owned a bunch of them.
Do you still play electric at all, or just?
You know, I did a gig at the New Bedford Whaling Museum.
That is a beautiful.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
Place. Yeah.
It was gorgeous. I did a party there, a private party, and I played with a bunch of jazz guys. Dino Gravani, I think his name is, Jim Robitaille, Marcus Montero. Just amazing musicians. I mean, very, very educated, experienced, just brilliant guys. You know, I was asked to sit in and play some blues, which I did, but it was really a privilege to play with those guys.
Yeah, and so that was electric.
Yeah.
I
was playing Fender Strat through a Mesa Boogie that night.
Oh, nice.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun, but humbling playing with such gifted guys, you know.
Yeah.
Really beautiful stuff.
Now, do you, in your own listening pleasure, do you venture out beyond the blues? Like, do you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, that whole American roots stuff. You know, I'm a modern guy now. You know, with my playlists and everything. You know, which is great. I mean, I don't think the sound's as good as vinyl and all that stuff, but what makes up for it is the availability of things. You know, the
it's
Library
amazing,
of Congress recordings, and so I may have a week where I only listen to Wes Osman play the banjo.
Yeah.
You know, play classic banjo, not classical banjo, classic banjo, which is, you know, old folk type tunes melodically played, like you would finger pick the guitar. You know, and then the next week I may listen to just Norman Blake for a week. Or it's wonderful to have all of this music at our disposal. You know?
One of our first podcast guests was a musician friend of mine, and he takes a lot of like modern songs like Lady Gaga and whatnot and turns them into like world beat music. And we were talking about how like a lot of times he almost gets so involved in listening to music, like he has trouble driving and listening to music. Do you find that as well? Or
you know, I just bought myself a nice pair of speakers, and I have gotten back to taking some time periodically and sitting in a chair at the optimum distance, you know, the triangle of, you know, speaker here, me at the point of the triangle, and just sitting and listening. In my day, you know, if you got a new record, you called all your friends and you got together and it was like, oh, let's sit and listen to this record.
Yeah.
You know, I'm older than you guys. That's what we used to do.
Well, records are back.
Yeah, but it was you couldn't find stuff in my day. You know, you were lucky if you knew who James Cotton was.
Yeah.
You were lucky if you could find one of his albums if that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
You know, so someone, you know, a friend might have gone to Boston and found a particular record that we had all heard of but never heard.
When I was in high school, we used to go into Cambridge.
Yeah.
Mystery Train and places like that to get CDs, but, you know, same thing.
But it was an event, and, you know, we didn't play the thing. We couldn't play them in your car, and we didn't have cell phones, right? Yeah. So you would go to someone's house, and, you know, we would sit, and everyone would be quiet and listen to the music. And recently I've recognized how cool that was, to just sit and listen, you know, not be multitasking with 10 other things. Just sit and listen. And I'm trying to do more of that. It's really enjoyable. You know? Beats the news.
Oh, yeah. You know? A lot of things beat the news. Your trip to the dentist might be better.
That's true. You've got that right.
But that is, it's a really valid point, because, I mean, 99 times out of 100 when I'm listening to something, I'm doing something else.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, when you're doing that, there are things that you're missing in the music.
Yeah.
You know, if you especially on a good set of speakers, there's some stuff going on, especially acoustic music. You know. Yeah. Or, for instance, Norman Blake, the acoustic guitar player that I like, plays all by himself. You know. His tone and touch on the guitar. Some of the stuff that he's playing is not all that difficult, you know, but his tone and touch and the way he approaches it is just so beautiful and so brilliant that when you sit and really close your eyes and focus on his playing, you see that, you hear that, you know, you recognize that. You might not driving down the road.
Just humming along to it.
Yeah. So, you know, music is an experience, and you can have that experience be at whatever level you want. Yeah. I want it at that level.
I will agree with you and kind of take that in a different direction. I went to a couple concerts this past summer, and I've seen a lot of this type of thing, is the people who record, live stream, take pictures on... Yeah, if you're at the concert, man, like, I don't get that at all.
Either.
Like, they're watching this tiny screen in front of them when it's happening.
You're speaking my language, Andy. You know, I saw Doc Watson about 5 years before he died. One of the forefathers of acoustic, like bluegrass and fiddle tunes and stuff. And there was a guy in the audience who spent the whole time with a little tiny camera, one eye closed, looking through a little tiny camera. And I thought,
I just don't understand, how can you experience that?
You're watching history here.
Yeah.
And you're watching it too. You missed the whole thing.
And I went and saw Guns N' Roses this past summer on their reunion tour, which I was amazed it ever happened. I'm not gonna lie, I took a couple pictures, but snap, okay, concert time.
And, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, like I don't. To me, that's just so foreign, and I feel
well, it's good to hear you say that, because I think we that recognize that need to tell other people about it. Because when people go even into a club and there's someone playing, they ought to put their phone down and listen.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of there's a stand-up comedian named Aziz Ansari?
I haven't heard of him.
He literally does this thing at the beginning, because he does huge halls, and he will come out and be like, all right, I'm going to stand here and pretend like I'm telling a joke. Get out your cameras. Snap. All right, put them away. Now let's have a show. Yeah. And it's just that, okay, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But I've even read reports, and they're on the internet, so they have to be true.
Yeah.
That when you record something, it almost gives your brain permission to forget it.
I wouldn't doubt it. I heard someone say, I think Jack White was saying, a guy will work on a painting for 6 months to a year, and it'll be the best painting of his career. And some kid will pull it up on his iPhone and look at it and go, oh, look at that, and swipe to the next frame,
Yeah.
And it's like, you missed the whole thing. It's like, food's the same way. Do you want to really sit down and think about, a gourmet meal that you're eating, or do you want to just shovel it down, If you shovel it down, you're not going to get the full experience.
I have since I haven't lived in Plymouth all that long, and since I've moved to Plymouth, I've very much gotten more into that mindset with food, because in the past you're like, whatever, let's go to the 99, and there's so many great places down here to eat that just blow the doors off.
Yeah, and to really think about it, think about what, one of the things that I just came out with this new instrumental CD. Nothing but solo guitar. One guitar, not even my foot stomping in the background, no vocals or anything. And I believe that music should be kind of like with food. Like, you're going to pair this dish with this kind of wine. With food,
that's interesting.
With music, I think, like this solo CD, when I started it, I thought, I want this CD to be paired with, an early morning sitting with a cup of coffee.
That's interesting.
Relaxing, on a Sunday morning. My goal was to make a CD that someone would enjoy being in that situation, listening to that CD.
Yeah.
Just like you pair wine with
a
particular dish.
So, to make sure we do the things we need to do, if someone wanted that CD, where could they go to find such? You
can go, if you go to marktsmall.com, I have 5 CDs out there, all listed there. If you click, you can go to CD Baby, and you can get hard copies through CD Baby, or all the digital outlets, iTunes, all the streaming, even the ones that rip me off will...
Are you on
Spotify? And all
I was just going to say, you're on Spotify.
I get checks for a list of the transactions. Spotify is like 0.001 cents for this download.
Don't spend that on one spot.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And that's. I was listening to an interview with the lead singer from the band Cake recently.
Oh yeah.
And he was saying how he's like, I'm gonna have to get a job. He's like, it's your music is more available, but less people are paying for it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Back to my point of backup plan is not a bad thing.
That's true.
Because I heard an interview with Joe Walsh, and he was saying it's all gone. Yeah. You can't make a living at this. I mean, it's bad enough. You want to play a big show. Well, guess what? you got to have people willing to pay for tickets to fill those seats before they'll even think about you playing that big show.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't care if you're how amazing you think you are.
Right. If you're not going to sell out. Yeah.
People don't show up.
Right.
They don't need you.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
sad but true.
And so the moral of the story is for our listeners: go out and listen to live music and buy CDs. And
You know, I think personally, I feel that everybody who cares about art should have a restaurant that they patronize. And when I mean patronize, I don't just mean eat there. That they say, you know what, this is my restaurant.
Yeah.
And they tell people, you want to go to a nice restaurant, this is the place you go. They should have a restaurant like that. They should have a club that has good music where they say, hey, when was the last time you heard, like, you need to get out there and go to this particular club? That, on their list. And they should have, a musician or a band that they support. This band is playing, we got to go out there and show them some support. Because if you don't do those things, you're going to be eating out of vending machines, listening to karaoke.
Yeah, and it's all going to be kind of this homogenized.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to be eating at McDonald's, and then you're going to go to the local bar for karaoke. And that's what it's turning into.
Karaoke's... Well, I shouldn't say it's all bad. I've heard some good karaoke.
Yeah,
it's all bad.
There's some that's really bad.
Or disc jockeys,
Yeah.
It really is a fact. If you don't, you pick out some things to support. If people don't do that, the world is, it's happening already. I mean, in my day, Newport, Rhode Island, you could go to Newport and there would be 25 bands playing. Club after club, all the way down the street, every other building there was a band playing.
Yeah.
Now go to Newport and tell me how many bands you see.
Was it all DJs?
DJs or no music.
Yeah.
No music at all, piped in music or whatever. So it's happening.
Well, the thing that has to really hurt is, as much as they can be convenient, is those jukeboxes now that are hooked up to the internet. So
and everybody's got this stuff on their phone,
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that's changed is universities used to have all kinds of music going on. I mean, UMass had the Estetford every year that was a big, like, folk festival. It was blues and bluegrass and old-time music, and hundreds of musicians would go.
Yeah.
And you could walk around the campus, and there'd be 5 guys playing a particular kind of music over here. Go around the corner, there'd be 4 or 5 people playing some other kind of music over here. There'd be little nooks and crannies, hundreds of people playing music. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, go to UMass and say, let's go to UMass and hear some music. There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. There's no more. There was a Rathskeller there that had music on the weekends. They had bands in.
That place was pretty legendary.
It was
locally.
great. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And now there's none. So, I don't mean to preach, but if you care about the arts and you like music, you need to pick a few things out and say, you know what, I'm going to put a little bit of energy. Doesn't take much.
Yeah. And if you need something for your wall, buy it from an artist.
Buy somebody's CD. Go to see somebody and buy their CD, or just show up with a couple friends and support the cause. Because it's the same in the clubs. If people don't show up, there's not going to be live music.
Yeah, that happened at a local bar down here.
Yeah.
And it's just people weren't coming out to see the bands, and so they stopped booking bands.
Yeah, and you can't blame the owner.
Oh, no, not at all. It's not making them money.
Yeah, he's got to survive. The general public is who to blame.
Right.
If and I'm sure people were disappointed that happened.
Oh, yeah.
If those people that were disappointed said, you know what, attendance is a little low there, let's call some people up, get them in there on a Friday night, so they keep doing this, they would still be having music.
Sure.
It's got to be grassroots, It's got to be grassroots. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we don't want to keep you too long because we know you got to.
What time is it now?
Quarter past.
I got to get over there and set up.
Okay. Can you just play a little jig to play us out?
Sure. I'm so out of tune from the humidity. Oh. I am so out of tune. I don't want to sit here and bing on your show.
But we're going to actually record another one, and then we're probably going to come over and listen
cool.
to you.
There you go. Thanks for having me,
It was
Andy.
a pleasure to have you on. And so for our listeners, make sure you go to marktesmalls.com.
marktesmall.com.
And if you're in Plymouth, check them out every Thursday at the New World Tavern.
Yeah.
And if you're in Plymouth, check us out every first Monday of every month at the New World Tavern for Life Drawing. And thank you for listening.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.